Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is Austin Linney. It's not my Friday rant. We actually have a guest today. See, I almost did it. It's like the subconscious brain. We got Mr. Nate Palmer in the house. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I also am ready to rant. So if we can, this could be like a Monday rant.
Okay. Here's my new question I decided to ask on the podcast.
Yes.
What currently are you fired up about?
Oh man, like fired up, like positive or fired up negative? Because I think I've got both.
We'll start with the negative.
Fired up negative. I'm fired up negatively about food quality in this country. It makes me very upset when I talk about it. Starting with like do you want to talk about?
Well, no, here's what's great. I'm gonna let you dive into it, but here's my theory. Okay. After coaching 16 people every week for 5 years, I actually don't think that we're assholes, and I don't think that we're mean people. I think we feel like shit.
Ooh, okay.
Because if I take care of myself as much as I do, and I work out, and I have coaches, and I get massages, and I still feel bad sometimes, then how does the general public feel?
Bro, like how can anyone be operating above 50, 60%? And they think that's normal. Like everyone is walking around with the flu right now, and they don't even realize that that's what they feel like. So I tell people all the time when I'm helping them with their nutrition and fitness, I'm like, I'm not going to make you a superhuman or anything like that. I'm going to help you feel what normal. And you're going to feel like a superhuman because you finally have energy again. You finally can focus on stuff again. You finally feel good.
And I think what's interesting, right, is I think with energy, it's the only way we get change. And what I mean by that is, as a coach, I'm not actually telling you what to do. I'm teaching you how to think, but I'm giving you a new set of energy that allows you to unlock the door of possibilities. And that's what health, right? I don't know how much you know about me, but I was a drunk for 20 years. I lost 70 pounds when I got sober, and it wasn't, yes, that's great, I lost weight and that's cool, but it was more about an energy for life now, which then allowed other things to be an option. And I think that's what's so important, is we don't even know what we're putting in our body.
Yeah. And I mean, I struggle with this. I know a lot about nutrition. I know a lot about how to read labels. I know a lot about like what goes on behind the scenes. And I still have a hard time with this because it's very unclear, and that's on purpose.
Yeah, because they're creating ambiguity, right? I mean, like, look, in the same month, either eggs are bad or eggs are good. We don't know anymore. It's bacon good, it's bacon bad.
Exactly.
You know, and what's crazy is I just moved 2 months ago. I just moved because we're buying a company up in Pennsylvania. And what's wild to me about I live in a rural area. There is no, and I mean no, two places, decent food. And I'm not talking about like it's bad food. I'm talking about good for you food. So what do you think people are going to do? They're going to go with the regular option, or what they've been used to their whole life. And when I say, because we own an HVAC, plumbing, and electric and construction company, right? When I say I want my techs to be healthy, everybody just laughs at me. They're like, you're never going to be able to change the blue collar world. I said, look, I don't have to change them. I have to show them. And so we're building a gym at our office, and I'm going to make sure that they can see in there, and they're going to see the owner, and they're getting it every morning when they show up. And they might not join at first, but when they see I'm happy, healthy, they will come. And so that's the number one lesson I learned from getting sober, is you have to be an example. You can't tell people what to do.
100%. I feel like, I mean, this is like a different style, but like I always read before bed. I think that's a really critical piece to helping you fall asleep better. I think it's great for personal development, all that stuff. But my wife never does. She looks at her phone, but I cannot tell my wife what to do. I don't know if you yeah.
No.
I'm a personal trainer. Yeah. I don't tell her how to work out or what to eat. You know, like I'm not telling her what to do. But I've been now reading before bed for the last, like since 2015, I've not like missed a night. And so she finally, like the beginning of this year, was like, I think I'm going to pick up a book before bed. And I was like, what a great idea. And she's been loving it. But you can't tell someone. You have to show them, and you have to lead by example. And I think that, like, we have to be leaders, and we have to showcase 100%, because no one else is going to go and do 101%. Everyone else is going to be 99%. So if you're only 70%, that's all you're only going to get 69%, which is nice. But like, you got to, like, you can't, no one's going to like go surpass you in the leadership role. You always have to be the paradigm. You always have to show what's possible. So I love what you're saying. You show up early, you're kicking ass, you're in there getting it. You're showcasing what it looks like to have a healthy, happy, energetic, focused life. Why wouldn't they join in? Especially if you do that for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you're not like a day one evangelist.
I
Do
love
CrossFit.
It. And what, the health, like you said, the health is, we don't know what to eat. There's 90 different workouts. There's all these things, just basic knowledge of how someone gets started on shifting the narrative in their life when it comes to eating and health, a relationship with it. Where do you start them when you talk to clients or friends or anybody that you speak to?
So I have a bit of a different paradigm around this, because I'm not necessarily talking to people about like, well, you got to count your macros and you got to like eat clean and stuff. Cause I think those terms don't really do anyone any good long-term. So when I talk to people, I talk to a lot of people who are business owners, entrepreneurs, own their own thing, work off commission, basically live and die by their actions. They're mental athletes. So what I always am trying to impress upon them is that food is really the gateway to energy. A lot of people are like, food is fuel. Well, yeah, it is, but also it's like community and love and all these things. But how you eat determines how you feel long-term for sure, but also in the short term. So if you have a big meeting, you got to get to something at noon today, and you want to be on point, and you go crush a Chipotle burrito at 11:30. Do you think you're going to show up with maximum amount of energy, focus, and mental acuity? You think you're going to be on point all meeting? Hell no. So if we can, again, like you said, show people that when you eat a specific way, you can actually take more energy and transfer it into your daily life. You can show up bigger for your clients. You can close more deals. You can use food as a source of power and energy to get more done in your life. That's when we start to like get into some of the nitty gritty, because I can tell you all about proteins and fats for breakfast, proteins and vegetables for lunch, proteins, carbs, and veggies for dinner. I can tell you about the 7 daily investments that I like to talk about in my $1 million body method. We can go into all those tactics, but the baseline is use your food to create the outcomes that you want. So when you go to get your next meal, don't ask, what do I want to eat? You ask, how do I want to feel after this? And just by changing that simple question, we can start to make better decisions. And even if you don't know a shit ton about nutrition, if I laid out a bunch of stuff on a table, there's like pizza, hamburgers, kale, broccoli, chicken, eggs, 90% of people can point to the one things that are healthy and things that are not like nutritionally dense, so we don't have to be so smart. And like you said, it is getting convoluted on purpose. But if we can just clarify that message down to, how do I want to feel after this? All right, let's eat in a way that supports that.
Because I know this because I eat a lot of different foods from a lot of different places. I have never once in my life felt full or lethargic from a Mediterranean dinner or lunch, ever. I'm thinking about all the times I've ate it. I've never felt like, I feel energized. I feel healthy, light, fresh. That's the ingredients that they put in that food. And so I think that if the paradigm shift that you said, if we're asking about how do I want to feel after this, because what I've noticed, and I've done it a bunch of different times, I'm doing it right now. I'm in a long stated fast. I don't know how many long days I'm going to go, but I'll probably go 2 or 3 days. In that state, you really see how food shows up for you. And you start, like, the words start getting in your head. You're like, damn. And it's not even the fact that I'm hungry. It's that I feel the need to eat. It's not even so weird. It's like my body has plenty of fuel. And so I think that's what we have to realize, the thoughts that are coming into our head. And look, I'll throw myself on the mercy of everybody that's listening. Not drinking, quitting alcohol was not that hard. But reassociating salts and heavy meals like burgers and stuff that I loved to eat when I was drunk, that was really the harder paradigm shift for me than actually not drinking. It was getting the salt and that feeling of I'll be 100% transparent. I was addicted to Topo Chicos and sparkling water when I quit drinking, because that was associated as a good time for me. And I was like, look, you can either slam whiskey or you can drink a Topo Chico. I think I'll take a Topo Chico. But then that turned into another addiction. And it's funny how those things just associate on your subconscious.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, like I think there's also baby steps too, right? And having a replacement rather than trying to just remove something from your life is always going to be easier. And then I really like, it's crazy what you said about food and just that, like kind of that mental battle you go through, because, you know, when you're not drinking, you're getting sober, you can be in places that don't have alcohol, but you can't go to places that don't have food. Always food around you, always ads for food, always stuff. Just like people be like, hey, do you want this? Hey, you want to grab something here? Want to go to happy hour? Want to do these things? You can't get away from that as easily as you can get away from like a group of friends that was always pushing you to drink or do drugs or whatever.
Well, what I tell people a lot of times is your new routine, your new habits, maybe it's not good enough to take on the road yet. That's what I call it. Be in your protective bubble long enough to create that subconscious understanding, and then maybe you can take it on a trip. Maybe like I'm a master bartender. I can make you a drink right now, 10 of them, and it's not going to affect me one way or the other. I'm not going to want to drink. I don't care about drinking. But in day 2, 3, 4 of soberness, maybe that wasn't the case.
I like that. I like that distinction too. When can you take it on the road with you?
Yeah. And so when you're dealing with your clients, what are they seeing on the other side of like changing the way they eat and their health? Like, are you seeing exponential just improvement on just everything, mood, work, everything?
I don't know. I would like to be totally honest. I don't know if it's exponential, you know, because I think a lot of times, you know, if you're changing a bunch of stuff at once, there can be some growing pains with that. But I do think that when you start with energy first, and I always think that's the key here, like, because like you said, without energy, there's just no other space for growth. Everything you're doing is tied up in like, it's exhausting. And they say that fatigue makes cowards of all men. So if you don't have energy, you're lethargic all the time, you're just not going to be able to do more, be more. So starting by being like, how do you feel at 10:30, at 2:30, at 5 p.m. when you get home? Are you good to engage with your family? Are you good? Do you need to crawl into your desk and take a nap? Because that's so many of us. And there's physiological reasons for that, right? We eat something that's high in sugar, our blood sugar spikes, our insulin spikes, we're insulin resistant, we got all these things going on. We want to take a nap at 10:30. We're starving again at 2:30 after lunch. We're like, what's going on with that? So when you have the right food sources, you can actually create better energy because you're not always digesting your food. You don't always have these massive fluctuations in blood sugar. So now you have a better relationship with your coworker or your boss or your like clients, because you just have more energy. You can give more. You can pour more from a full cup than from an empty cup at 10:30. You know, you're not so wrapped up in what's going on inside yourself. At 2:30, you know, I think a lot of us, we do a lot of our meetings in the morning, and then the afternoon is for kind of checking off the to-do list, right? But so many of us have a 45-minute to-do list that we cram into 3 hours because we just are not focused. So now you take your 45-minute to-do list, you get it done in 45 minutes, and then you have extra time to dial some more clients, get some more business going, reach out to some people that you haven't talked to in a while. You know, maybe you just go home early and invest in a relationship, you know, like you have the like more space and more capacity for these things. So I wouldn't say there's like exponential growth, but people start feeling more whole. They have more ability to be the person that they want to be, rather than feeling like they're completely out of control, pulled in a variety of different directions by external sources, like they don't have any sort of recourse or autonomy in their own life.
And one of the things I did, and I would love to get your take on this, one of the things I learned about myself is, and I'm not saying it's good or bad or indifferent, I'm either all on or all off. There's no, like, if I'm on vacation, I'm on vacation. If I'm going, I'm going. What I've done is I front load my week. So Monday is coaching day, podcast day, and then Tuesday saying meetings on Wednesday. But as Thursday comes along, after like 1 o'clock on Thursday, there's no meeting scheduled, or Friday. And it's kind of me waning off the week where I'll go hang out with investors or catch up projects I'm working on. And that allows me personally to transition into the weekend instead of it being some abrupt thing. And then I also feel like I have a disconnect from that, and understanding where my energy lies and kind of tapping into the, you know, maximizing the energy flow. Like when I'm going like all day, I can just go meeting to meeting. But if I have like one meeting in the day, like in the afternoon, like I don't do that because I'm just like, I'm so off that day. I'm out like meeting people in the neighborhood. And I think, time blocking or whatever you want to call it, it's really changed my life.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I don't really coach a lot on that.
Yeah.
But I try to help people again, like I think the calendar is one of the most critical fat loss tools that we have that we don't mess with.
All right.
We're always talking about
intrigued.
calories and everything
I'm
else.
Intrigued.
But it's really about planning, like if you have something on your calendar, are you going to be like, look at it and be like, nah, I'm just not going to get on Zoom at that time. I don't feel like it. When was the last time you did that, Austin?
Never. It's never happened.
Never. You're always going to show up there. So why don't we put our workouts on our calendar? Why don't we block off that important meeting with ourselves? You said it like 2 weeks ago.
You're
you said,
crushing, dude.
Dude, like, if you need to be able to receive compliments yourself. Maybe you are a badass, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you're saying that same thing, like maybe you are worthy of scheduling your own time with. Maybe you deserve that. Maybe it's important to.
This is the moment. This is the moment. Everybody, back up what he just said, because I know you meet high achievers. I meet high achievers. They have scheduled on their time playing with my kids. The kid knows it. They know it every day. And so why aren't we scheduling our workouts? Why aren't those going on the calendar?
You need to prep your food. Why don't you have that on Sunday? Why don't you have that on Tuesday afternoon? And there's so many tools and ways we can work around that and figure things out, but tactics are meaningless unless you have this base. So I think that using your calendar as just a catalyst to get stuff done. And maybe it's not fat loss for you. Maybe it's making more money. Well, do you have a time slot for reaching out to new clients? Do you have a time slot booked for prospecting? Because we'll do what's on our calendar because we're high achievers. That's who we are. That's what we do. So block the things that are important.
And every time you put it on your calendar, whether it be, walk or work out or eat right or prep, you're making a deposit into your future self, which then again gives you confidence. So boom, it's double-edged. So you win on both sides of the coin.
I love that. That's one of the things that I talk about a lot for a morning routine is always is every single day in the morning, you need to be, I call it casting a vote for who you're becoming. So I think that, like you said, you put it in there, you're getting a win right off the bat. You're saying, hey, this is who I am. So you're reinforcing an identity shift. That's all good. That's so awesome.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So why do you think, just in your personal opinion, I'll let you go on a rant for a while. Why do you think that health is such a minefield for people?
Well, I think there's a couple things. Number one, food quality, it's making it harder, right? People are working out more, eating less sugar, doing all these things more than we ever did in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And we're getting worse results. There's a lot of toxicity in our environment. Food quality is diminished. You see the human skull has been shrinking because we're not chewing our food. Everything is given to us to maximize how fast we can eat it. People are sitting in rooms concocting McDonald's hamburgers for maximum softness so we can shovel them in faster so we don't get satiety quickly. So the deck is already stacked against us in that capacity. Then you throw on top, this guy says CrossFit, this guy says keto, this guy says Orange Theory. There's a million different things. And the secret is that they all work. All of those things work. Everything works, but you just have to figure out what works for your life. And so many of us want that Amazon Prime fix, right? I want it yesterday. I want it tonight, 8 p.m. But that's not how things are going to go for you, especially good things in life. Everyone hears the story about the guy who made $1 million overnight. He's 18 years old, and making six figures or whatever it is. And we're like, oh, I want those results. But that's this small subset of people, and that's not most of us. So most of the time, these really good things, being extremely fit, having a high level of income, having a fantastic relationships, they come with time. They take a lot longer than you think they're going to take. So I think most people overestimate what we can do in 3 months and underestimate what we can do in 5 years. So we just don't have a really good mentality about it. The deck is stacked against us with our food choices. And I think a lot of times we think, oh, I'm not an athlete. Oh, I just eat big meals. Oh, I always struggle with sleep. And we put these labels on ourselves. And so we are creating identities around unhealthy behaviors. And so until we shift our identities, because Jocko says discipline over motivation, right? Motivation's fleeting, discipline is everything. But I think, you can be disciplined for months at a time. But if you still think I'm the funny fat guy, I'm the guy who eats hamburgers when I'm drinking, you can't ever get past that long term. You have to shift your identity. So I love what you said about shifting who you're becoming by using your calendar. Because every single time you do that, you get a workout, you take your supplements, you drink your water in the morning, you have that healthy lunch, you do these little tiny behaviors, you get the W, and you're aggregating those wins and you're stacking them all up, which is the win in itself. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And that's just so cliche and trite, but it's true. So you have to understand, how do you get those wins on a regular basis? How do you win 50 times today? And not just, hey, in 6 months when I dropped 30 pounds, that's my one win, because you're going to always be disappointed by that.
100%. My favorite Les Brown comment is he says, oh yeah, I have friends that say I'm big bone. He's like, I've never seen a big skeleton. And it's just the truth, because here's my problem, and I'll use it under what I deal with. I'm sure you have the same for yours. I'm just going to talk about me. If I hear one more person tell me that, oh, alcoholism runs in your family, horse shit. Alcoholism runs in your environment and your mindset. There's not a gene passed down. I'm sorry. Fact check me if I'm wrong, but I just believe this to be true. There's not a gene passed down that makes you more prone to be an alcoholic because your uncle was. It's the environment and the mindset that you grew up with. And I could say the same thing about health. It doesn't matter if you have diabetes in the family. Yes, it is an issue. It's medical. I'm not saying I'm a doctor. But the fact that you think you can't change it and you're just going to give up, I'm not okay with.
Well, I think that, like they say your genetics might load the gun, but your behaviors cock it or pull the trigger. You know, like you might have addictive behaviors in your family. You might have hypertension. You might have diabetes and stuff like that. But are there healthy people who have diabetes in their family? Yes. So why aren't you?
No, it's just look. I met a Russian lady 10 years ago that was 91, and she drinks 3 shots of vodka every day with a lemon squeeze, and she never been to the hospital. Look, it is what it is. But what I'm saying, that worked for her. That doesn't mean that you have to prescribe to that too, right? And I think we have to bushwhack our own path with our own beliefs and try stuff out till you find something that works for you, and then live in there. I'll be honest with you, Nate. You're the first person ever in the health space ever tell me that CrossFit, all the things that you mentioned, work. You're the first one that actually said, like, these work if they work for you. The fact that we think, oh, this one does work, this one doesn't work, that is a whole different mindset that I love so much.
Yeah, but I think that like you might like CrossFit, it might be great, but like if you don't have requisite mobility in your shoulder, you're probably not going to be doing a whole lot of snatching, and then you're probably not going to do CrossFit for very long. All right. Well, what is the thing that you can continue to do? You might love doing like hip hop cardio, but you got bad knees. So like you can't do it long term. Like, so what is the thing that's going to work for you? You know, like you said, you already mentioned the Mediterranean diet. So like that's the thing I like really about my program is the $1 Million Body Method. It's a framework. So I teach you proteins and fats in the morning, proteins and carbs, proteins and vegetables for lunch, proteins, carbs, and vegetables for dinner. So Austin, if you're like, hey, I want to have grilled shrimp, I want to have some Captain Crunch, and then I'm going to have a little bit of Brussels sprouts. Or I'll be like, bro, that's gross. What's wrong with you? But like, okay, live your dreams. So you can slide Mediterranean in there. You can slide paleo in there. You can slide like if it's your macros in there, you can do anything you want to do, but I'm just giving you this template, this color by number. So you can take this to grandma's house. You can call it client dinners. You can do whatever you want with it, because basically what we're trying to do is just create your energy. And once you have your energy dialed in, then we can tighten up the portion sizes. We can figure out your proteins. We can make sure that all these pieces are in place, but like get the framework down first. And then we have a lot more tools that we can work with.
And where does somebody get started on the journey? Where resources, where would they look to start thinking about stuff like this if they want to make a change?
So if you want to check out this specific model, which I call low carb backloading or glycogen priming, is you can just grab this book for free. I wrote a book on it. It's called The $1 Million Body Method. Go to getnatesbook.com to get that. I'll send you an ebook or the Kindle version for free. If you want to read it by hand or listen to it on Audible, it's on Amazon. You can go check it out there. That's a great place to get started. You can also listen to my podcast called the Low Carb Hustle. I'm always talking about that. We did a lot of mindset stuff in March. So kind of going back a little bit ways to talk more about the carbohydrates and the tactics and things like that. But I think that there's a ton of resources, you know, so if you want to just try something out, I think that's always the best way to do it. Just give yourself a month to try something new and don't put any expectations or judgments on it. Just be like, all right, this is everything that I'm getting back from this is data. because I got, the reason this started is in 2018, I had a client here in Phoenix who was starting a roofing business. So like, I mean, you're driving around in your truck all day, you're up and down ladders, you don't have time to go to the gym, so he's like, he's hot all the time. He's drinking 4 or 5 energy drinks a day. And he told me, he's like, hey, I don't have energy to play with my kids. I go home, I have to crash on the couch for like 30 minutes before I can even talk to them. And I was like, well, do you want to lose weight or what's going on? He's like, no, just fix my energy. I was like, okay. He's like, by the way, I'm going to be in my truck for 12 hours a day. I'm going to eat 5 fast food meals a week. And I was like, okay, great. So we put together a plan, put together a couple of meals that he could have at a couple of different restaurants. And then 2 months passed and I was like, okay, how's everything going, man? Like, where are you at? And he goes, dude, I'm doing great. My energy's way better. I'm down to 2 energy drinks a day instead of 5, like, so it's not like, oh, everything's perfect. He wakes up with tons of energy. No, he's still drinking 2 energy drinks, which is like 500 milligrams of caffeine, which is a lot. And it's like, my wife's noticed a difference. My kids noticed a difference. And I was like, cool. Well, do you have some more space in your life to like get a workout in or do some more fat loss? And he's like, well, that's the thing is in 2 months, I've lost 22 pounds just with changing my nutrition. And I was like, oh shit, we might be onto something here. So as we kind of explored this more, that's why I decided to go so all in on this specific strategy, because I think it's very powerful for people, but you got to give it a little bit of time. Do these N1 experiments and don't look at it like pass or fail. Look at it like data points. And I think there's 2 specific data points you need to always be considering when it comes to nutrition. Number 1 is, what's my energy like? How do I feel? Because if you don't have energy, something's broken in there and you're not going to be able to white knuckle it for the rest of your life. You might love keto. You might love how fast you get results on it. But if you feel like dog shit all the time, you have a headache, you're not going to last. So find something that works for you specifically. Number 2 is your hunger signals, hunger pangs. Are you always having cravings? You always craving sugar? Are you hungry at 10:30, at 11:30, at 2 o'clock, at 5 o'clock, at 9 p.m.? Are you in the fridge 6 times a night? Something's broken, something's off. So we need to go tweak your nutrition around those times. So look at those 2 data points specifically. And then one other kind of key piece here is, look at your waist to height ratio. Waist to height ratio is a really interesting metric that tells us a lot about what's going on internally. There's this thing called insulin resistance, which is a part of the metabolic syndrome, these diabetes, all these negative health things come from insulin resistance. It basically means your body can't digest carbs and use them appropriately. So if you have insulin resistance, you're never going to be able to eat like a bagel in the morning and feel good the rest of the day. You're going to feel like shit all day, or you're going to just be up and down. So measure your waistline at your narrowest points, like an inch above your belly button, and then divide that by your height. So if that number is above 0.46, you have some degree of insulin resistance. If it's above 0.5, you got some problems. Yeah, we need to fix that. If it's below 0.46, then by all means, start adding more carbohydrates back into your life and experimenting, seeing how you feel. If you just have a bagel for breakfast, you're probably still not going to feel 100%. But if you have like a English muffin and some eggs, you'll probably be fine. So using this metric is going to be a great way to determine what's going on internally with some of those biometrics. And then also, what's your visceral fat level? Visceral fat is the fat around your organs in your stomach cavity. So it's not the stuff you squeeze and you go, oh man, I need to lose a few pounds. It's the real dangerous stuff that sits around your organs and can start to squeeze them. So it lets us know both of those things. So you can determine how healthy are you with just this one really quick measurement.
So great. Learned so much there. I love, because I've helped clients, even though I'm not qualified for it, but we get in that health stuff sometimes. Getting them to understand it's not pass or fail. I think that point, if I could take anything away from that podcast, it's data points. You're getting data points. You can use that in every part of your life and not beat yourself up. And I think that lesson right there is the lesson that everybody needs to hear, because it's the truth. And the fact that, it's the same thing when I get people to get sober. I have a client who's been an alcoholic for 35 years. I've never once in my life ever said stop drinking. He even drank in front of me when I was having dinner with him. Yet I've never mentioned it once, but in 6 months of coaching, he's barely drinking now.
Wow.
And it has nothing to do with drinking. It has to changing his outlook on his energy and his life and everything he's doing. It's the same concept here. Is let's not, chastise them because they're not 100% perfect, but let's see what's working and then continue to double down on those things. And then eventually you get to the other side and you're healthy and you're happy and you never want to go back. We're too hard on ourselves. My philosophy in life is, if I'm an investor, okay, like I'm an investor in everything. I'm an investor in myself, other people, my businesses, everything, right? Well, guess what? I'm not stop investing 6 months from now, right? Okay. So the question is why do we approach our health like we're going to work out for 6 months and then stop. Like, I want to be healthy my entire life. Okay. And I'm just using me as an example. Look, mentally, when I started losing weight, because I was stopped drinking, I couldn't handle the scale, good or bad or indifferent. I couldn't do it. But I remember Kyle Cease, who's one of my favorite personal development guys, used to be a comedian. He did a juice cleanse for 3 days and he gained weight and he lost his fucking mind. He was like, he's like, I don't understand. What the? And he's like, wait, whoa. He goes, hold on. My intention was to feel good. He said, how do I feel? He said, I feel amazing. Okay, then it's working. And he stopped looking at the scale and he started going by what he felt. And he said, it changed my entire life.
And then I think going back to even what you said about you showing up for your guys and showing what's possible in the gym, you can't tell someone to do something because they might do it to your face. They might do it in front of you for a few times, but if they don't adopt it, it doesn't become their own. You could look at him and go swear up and down and be like, you better stop drinking and stuff like that. And he might not drink in front of you anymore. Mm-hmm. But if he doesn't actually embody that, if he doesn't see the results, if there's nothing he determines there's in it for him, why would he continue to stop? Mm-hmm. Why would he keep stopping? Stop stopping.
Well, yeah, you have to find the carrot. Yeah,
you have to, and it has to come from internally. Because like we can provide as coaches, we can provide all this motivation, raw bullshit, or we can, like carrot or stick, a little bit. But if there's not something that motivates you, if you don't see the benefit, if there's no what's in it for me, you're not going to keep going.
So true. If people want to find out more about you, they want to find the podcast. Is there a place they can go?
I'm on all the podcast places. The podcast called Low Carb Hustle, and then you can find me on Instagram. So I answer all my DMs and stuff. So if you want to chat or hang out, go to @Low Carb Hustle on Instagram, or just come by. I'll make you tacos. We can work out in the garage.
Listen, I have something that you're gonna laugh at. So my boy, one of my business partners, is a fitness guy like you too, owns some gyms, stuff like that. I made a rule: if you're flying in to meet somebody, or you're going over to meet guys like you and him, you better pack a couple of changes of clothes, because it's Thunderdome when you get there. There's going to be ice baths, there's going to be workouts, you're going to sweat, you're going to eat great, and you're going to have a good time. But it's no more like just showing up to people's houses. Like when I go see them in Chicago, like be prepared to have the hardest workout of your life and do an ice bath. Like you can't it's not like regular stuff anymore. You got to know what you're walking into.
Yeah, you definitely have to pack a change of clothes. No question about it.
So that's my rule now. If I travel, there's a change of clothes, no matter what, because something's happening. So,
smart. Yeah. So I don't have like the ice bath situation. There's a place nearby that has it's got the red lights on, of the ice bath, all these things that I'll take. I know
which place you're talking about. I used to live in Tempe.
So Optimize?
I know. Yeah, I know him because of Instagram. I know of the place. Yeah. So you got it made in the shade right there.
Oh, that's awesome. So I take people we go do the workout in the garage, and then generally I make them tacos. I go grill tacos. That's my love language.
Okay.
If you come over, I'm probably going to cook you some tacos. I'm from Texas,
so we're already good. So tacos.
I don't mess around with Tex-Mex though. That stuff's confusing.
No. Yeah, it's rough. It's what is really Mexican? What is really it's too much. So
too much cream sauce for me.
Yeah, exactly. If you got some value from this, send it to a friend, and we'll see you next time.